Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee of RotoBaller. My co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. There's a beer crack. Christopher Bell in victory lane, 2 weeks in a row. After a somewhat surprising dominating effort by Kyle Busch at Circuit of the Americas. SVG also up there a lot. He led 23 laps. Busch led 42. But Christopher Bell with a well-timed late caution and good pit strategy, unlike last year where it didn't work out for them, did work out for them this year. But a very good battle there at the end between him, William Byron, and Tyler Reddick was trying to get up in there as well. Those three finished top three. Christopher Bell with his second win of the year, as I said. Chase Elliott rebounded from an early wreck with Ross Chastain to finish fourth. Buescher gets another top 10 finish, finishing seventh. Noah Gragson comes home eighth. Alex Bowman ninth, and Todd Gilliland top 10 finish. Nick, what'd you think of the race? What'd you think of our first road course race of the season?
I mean, it was obviously fantastic. Arguably the best road course race of the next gen era. I think there was one that was higher in Jeff Gluck's good race poll in terms of road courses in the next gen era. I believe it was Watkins Glen 2023, maybe. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, definitely one of the best races of the next gen era. COTA always produces really good racing. And with the fall off that, these tires have, let alone last year, when tires mattered and Christopher Bell was trying to catch William Byron. This year, tires mattered, even more with Goodyear bringing an extra softer compound. Not like an option tire like we talk about on some of the ovals, but a little bit softer compound to promote a little bit more fall off. And there definitely was some fall off. And just a really good race. We had some beating and banging. We had some really nice, clean moves. And that battle at the end between, those four drivers, Reddick, Byron, Bell, and Kyle Busch was just amazing. Just an absolutely incredible battle. Perfectly clean driving, too. So kudos to those four drivers as a really good example of how to race.
Yeah, and Christopher Bell made sure to mention that he really appreciated how everyone raced there at the end, and it was awesome to see. And I don't think the broadcast did it justice for how good it was. I saw a tweet, I think it was yesterday, comparing NBC's call at Watkins Glen when SVG got bumped out of the way by Buescher compared to this, and it was just flat. So I think it could have been presented even better. But overall, if you're watching that race with no audio on, that was a very good finish. It was a great ending to, like you said, one of the best road course races in the next gen era. And Christopher Bell, you know what? We're 3 races into the year and he already has 2 wins, and we're going to a track that he obliterated the field at last spring this week. So he could go 3 in a row here. I don't think anybody would be surprised if Bell grabbed another win this weekend. But another solid outing there for William Byron at COTA. Same with Tyler Reddick. They're always strong there. Chase Elliott, like I said, he got dunked by Ross Chastain on lap 1. So we did see the beating and banging. We saw Austin Cindric right rear hook Ty Dillon in the middle of the straightaway. News broke today that he is not getting suspended. He got a 50-point fine, $50,000 fine as well for those actions. And as we talked about on the show last week, Chase Briscoe got his fine overturned and his penalty overturned. NASCAR, in a very surprising move, rescinded the penalty. So I guess there is hope for people that get penalized for NASCAR to change their mind. A couple other newsworthy topics out of COTA. Bubba Wallace qualified second. He won the first stage. He had a good race going all day, and then he ran into some issues. I think he got 3 or 4 penalties, if I remember right. Ended up finishing 20th, but once again, he is improving on the road courses. This showed once again, starting on the outside pole and being able to run up there with the best of them there for a lot of the race. But yeah, like you said, overall, just and Kyle Larson, can't forget him, just absolutely doomed at that track right now.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you alluded to the penalties. Austin Cindric, 50-point penalty, $50,000 fine. They're not appealing it. So it's a big hit to Cindric's playoff chances. I mean, he's not really a guy that was borderline top 16 in points anyway. So now he definitely needs a win to get in. They're not appealing it. really boneheaded move by him to do that. That's the second time he's right rear hooked a Dillon brother, the other being Austin Dillon at Gateway a couple years ago. So yeah, we're gonna have to start adding Austin Cindric to the shit list of drivers who lose their brain and do some dirty moves there. He's lucky he has his father there as a guy that has a long time worked for Penske, because outside of a couple super speedway wins and that one win at Gateway, or one super speedway win and then the win at Gateway, he hasn't done anything in the Cup Series, so was it Gateway or was it Iowa? It was some short flat track last year. I forget which one it was that Austin Cindric won at, but you get the point. It was Gateway. So not good for him. Good for, like I said, for Briscoe to get that 100-point penalty overturned. The appeals panel, so it wasn't NASCAR, it was the appeals panel, decided that whatever was going on there with the holes and how they're mounted wasn't an attempt to circumvent the rules. So that's definitely some news there. And that puts Chase Briscoe right back in the playoff hunt. And it looks like, based off the updated standings, Briscoe is now, where is he in points? I don't see where he is. It's hard to find. There he is, 14th in points now. So goes from dead last to 14th in points in one little announcement there.
Yeah, sorry, I had to FaceTime come in and it messed up my whole thing. I missed a lot of that. Sorry.
You're fine. I was just saying Cindric is now on the Hocevar style shit list for multiple right rear hooks.
Were you surprised that he
what I was saying is he's lucky his daddy, who's been a long time Penske guy, because he hasn't done much outside of win at one super speedway and Gateway, and that's it. He was not a playoff contender last year outside of the win, and this points penalty pretty much means he has to win to get into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Were you surprised that he didn't get suspended? Because I feel like if that was Hocevar, it would be an immediate suspension.
I don't think you would be an immediate suspension if it was Hocevar.
You don't?
No, I don't think, NASCAR didn't really come down on Hocevar for anything yet. So, they did penalize him last year the one time, but it wasn't anything massive. And I actually think, they treated Cindric harsher than Hocevar last year. So I don't necessarily think Hocevar would have been suspended. I think both of them should be suspended for a move like that. I think anybody should be suspended for a move like that. I don't care if it's a first time offense. Right rear hooking somebody at over 100 miles an hour, it's just not acceptable.
Yeah, and that was kind of their reasoning for not suspending him, was that the miles per hour wasn't high enough to justify it, and the fact that it didn't create a caution, which is NASCAR's opinion on whether that's a caution or not. So I didn't quite understand the reasoning behind it at all, but it is what it is. Cindric's going to be in the car this week, and
I like was it Freddie Kraft tweeting, what is the mile per hour cutoff for it to matter? Right? Like, does that mean everybody just gets free right rear hooks at Martinsville?
Right. But this is, once again, I think a NASCAR. Can we go 1 week without drama or questionable stuff? Just 1 week. I'm begging for it, because it's just to me, it's just insane. I'm trying not to say too much about it, but literally they can't go 1 week without having to answer some kind of questions. And at what point do we stop having this stuff happen? Yep. Where decisions are being called into question? And when you have spotters and drivers being surprised at your decision, I don't think that's a good thing.
No, I agree with you. And Kyle Busch calling it out too, saying he should be suspended. So yeah. And Kyle Busch, I think, even mentioned, not his first time either. So in terms of he being Cindric. So yeah, not too happy with NASCAR on that one. That's about as close. Like, I don't have a whine about it this week, but that's about as close as I have to a whine about it, is that, just not suspending Cindric. I think it sets a bad precedent where, okay, if a driver's eliminated from the playoffs, he can just right rear hook somebody at Martinsville and it won't even matter. right? In the Martinsville playoff race.
Well,
he's already been eliminated. If he's
well,
already
that's
been
the thing.
eliminated, it doesn't matter. Just take your 50-point penalty. You're finishing 20th in points anyway or something.
So that's the thing, though. Then it will matter because then the decision will probably be that they're suspended and all this other shit. You know what I mean? That's where
no, because they just set the precedent that if it's 100 miles an hour, it's not a suspension.
Right, and that's the slippery slope that they're on. But I could just see them going 180 on it, and then it's a problem.
I don't know. I think NASCAR made their justification that no caution and slow speed. So if you right rear hook somebody at Martinsville, and they are, at less than 100 miles an hour, I don't see how you can issue a suspension now.
Mm-hmm. Got a comment here. Spire was actually impressive at COTA, and I agree. Justin Haley was running solidly inside the top 10 at some points of that race. I forget why he fell back where he did, ended up 16th.
It was the last restart when the field bunched back together. And I think he took they didn't show it, but I think he took a hit from Logano, kind of like what happened with Kyle Busch and Bell. And Kyle Busch said it ruined his right rear. After that, I think something similar happened to Haley because he fell 4 spots in one turn. And I think it was at the hands of Joey. He was running 7th. Next thing I look, he's 11th. And then, another lap later, he's 13th. So
yeah,
I think it ended up killing his car. But prior to that contact, he was on a top 10 run and he had a pretty solid gap to the top 10. Just didn't work out. I had him 27-1 for top 10. And, that's we talk about my luck, right? Last year I had the worst betting luck of all time. This year I've started off great. I'm up 60% ROI or something, positive 60%. But that one stung. And also losing Chase Briscoe top Toyota stung because he was top Toyota for a good chunk of that race as well. He passed Tyler Reddick for the top Toyota. So those were the 2 post qualifying bets I made. And I was really happy with both of them. Briscoe top Toyota 18, Justin Haley top 10, 27, and just didn't work out.
Mm-hmm. Other Spire guys, Michael McDowell came home with an 11th place finish. He's a solid road course racer. Carson Hocevar qualified 4th, ended up 13th. So yeah, overall, just a good day for Spire and good to see that. You mentioned Chase Briscoe. Yeah, there was a point in that race that I thought he might contend for the win.
Yep. I bet him 70-1 live. I did bet him 70-1 live. And I thought because he actually passed Bell on that first stint in stage 1. He passed Bell, he passed Bowman, he passed some of these other really good drivers, and when I saw he was making passes on some of these quality drivers, Gibbs, etc., I was like, okay, I got to take a swing at 70-1. Everywhere else had him 25-30-1, so I'll take a stab at 70-1 at FanDuel, and was really happy with that bet as well. But didn't work out. That's okay. I won the miles per hour bet that I made. It was a freebie. It was the only lock I will ever give out, I think. There was no possible way for that bet to lose. So I was happy about that. And going along with IndyCar, I had, if you are in the Action Network Discord, I talked about I had a lean on Kyle Kirkwood and a lean on Alex Palou for IndyCar at their 19 and 10-1 prices. And I also talked about how in the Action Network Discord, when odds opened, I had a lean on Christopher Bell 12-1. So I know somebody who parlayed Bell and Kirkwood and Bell and Palou, and they were pretty happy about hitting the Bell and Palou parlay.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm kind
parlay
of
your
myself.
Leans, right? Because leans are leans for a reason. You're like, I have a small edge on them, but it's not big enough to feel super confident. But if you have a small edge and another small edge and you parlay them, the edge compounds into an even bigger edge. So I love parlaying leans. So that's something I'm going to try to, track in the Action Network app under our Parlay Express account. And I actually tracked one just today for the Cup Series as well.
I saw that. But yeah, that's an interesting stance because a lot of people mention how awful parlays are for, bettors in general. But to me, parlays are always fun. And like you said, if you have a lean, if you have an edge, I think it's worth throwing some down, assuming your risk tolerance.
Yep, exactly. And They're long shots for a reason. Sprinkle them. Don't do a full unit or a half unit or anything like that.
Right.
Quarter unit even can be too high if the odds are long, like just a tenth or half a tenth of a unit, $5-10 if your unit size is $100 is enough at 100 to 1 odds, something like that. I think the Pillow Bell parlay that I saw was like 129 to 1. Somebody sent me their ticket on Caesars, and so nice win for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I would have. If you remember back, I had to play back last week's episode, but remember, I said early week my numbers had Bell second to SVG, and I'm so mad I did not take Bell at 12 to 1. I bet him live. I just don't know why I didn't, and that's gonna be my whine about it. So unless you have anything else for COTA, we'll get right into that.
I'm just gonna whine about the fact that I don't have Hard Rock, because you're getting all these really nice live lines at Hard Rock, and I mean, I was able to get 70 on Briscoe at FanDuel, so I can't really complain.
So Hard Rock is, I'm not going to say anything just in case somehow they're watching this or somehow they see this and they fix it. So Hard Rock, please keep doing what you're doing. You're a great book. It's fun watching the race with you. But all right, my whine about it is not trusting myself. And I've whined about this before. You've whined about this before. But like I said last week, I really liked Christopher Bell heading into the race weekend. I really liked him after practice and qualifying, even though he's qualified 19th. And I just did not trust my gut. I did not bet him 12 to 1. I did not. I just didn't trust it. I also did not trust myself. And my mantra every time we go to a road course, and it's bet Chris Buescher top 10. Like that is always no matter what, I'm betting Chris Buescher top 10. And he got as far as I think plus 200 on top 10s. And I didn't take it. And I'm literally after I had a great race. I had a great betting race, great start to the season. I'm happy, very happy. But I'm kicking myself because the one thing I always say is bet Chris Buescher top 10 at a road course plus money, no matter what it is. And I just didn't listen to myself. And so I'm irritated. That is my whine about it. It is very minor this week. I could go on and on.
I don't have much to whine about. Like, I don't feel bad about those, for example, the Buescher top 10 bet. Like, I don't feel bad about missing out on it. It's the third race of the season, and we don't know where these teams and drivers and cars completely stand yet. We also had a revamped road course, I should say layout, different tire, right? Like, I don't feel bad about not going and betting a lot of these ones that I was showing some thin value on. And that's what happened this week. I made very few bets because almost everything was thin value for me. And instead of like solid value. Yeah, that they did have a good, that and just the uncertainty made it, so there's a whole lot less confidence. And so I'm actually okay with not, or you, for example, not taking Buescher top 10. I think it's totally fine to pass on something when there's a higher degree of uncertainty.
Yeah, I could whine about Fox's broadcast on and on, especially the shot of, hey, a pass for the lead. Let's show the grandstands. But
the back of the grandstand.
the overall, yeah. And then the last lap, the last 2 laps, not explaining how any of these front runners fell. Like AJ Allmendinger finished 30th. He was a threat to win most of the day. Nothing about him, nothing about Chastain free falling. And basically, from what we saw the in-car cameras, he basically just got over and let Chase Elliott pass him because he didn't want retaliation.
Yeah.
You mentioned Briscoe falling back. There was so much happening on that last lap, and I understand that there's a lot happening, but you can go back and explain it.
Recap it.
And you can explain why Todd Gilliland finished top 10 without running in the top 10 at all day. Like,
that was the other post-qualifying bet I made was Gilly top Ford.
Gilly top 10.
And I didn't I did top Ford, not top 10, because I figured if he was top 10, he had a very good chance of being top Ford. And so it was Sean Kerner of Action Network, my boss, and I, we always complain about this. We'll take the quarterbacks under on passing yards, and we should have gone under on his attempts instead or something. Like, we'll always pick like the wrong market, but the right analysis. And that's what happened to me this week. I took Gilly top Ford, and I should have taken top 10 instead. And I actually even messaged, I think it was Jim. I was like, I'm showing value on Gill on top 10, 11 to 1. I just haven't bet it yet because I have his top Ford at 12 to 1. So I didn't want to like double dip. And then if you had a bad day, lose both of them. So, but I definitely liked the top 10, 11-1. I just didn't end up betting it. So maybe that's my whine about it, is like, fuck it. If I'm showing value on it, just bet it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of same as yours. I'm a little annoyed that I didn't get the top 10 because then I don't get to celebrate that. But like the analysis was good. Like I knew Gilly had a very good chance of being near the top forward, and he was. I mean, he was I think third forward, and
the highest was Busher in 7th. So
yeah. So
yeah, shout out Todd Gilliland, one of our favorite drivers here, coming on top 10, getting his first top 10 of the season. Only guy we did not talk about from COTA was Connor Zilisch. Finished dead last, but that does not reflect his race whatsoever.
No.
I'll tell you what, he impressed me. I know we talked about, a lot of these guys aren't deserving of the hype. I still don't think he's deserving of where sportsbooks had him to open the week. I think 7-1 was insane. But he looked good in the middle of that race coming up through the pack. And then, obviously got in that wreck and ended his day. But before that, I was very impressed with how he looked. And I'm sure we'll see him again in the Cup car.
Actually, this is my official whine about it. This is my official whine about it. And it has nothing to do with Connor Zilisch. But you got me thinking about it, right? So Zilisch started mid-pack. He started like 13th or 14th or something. But within his group, I think he was like 4th, right? So if you just do the zipper thing, like Group A, Group B, Group A, Group B, he would have started like 8th, and he may have been out of that early mess a little bit more in the first turn, right? Because he took damage in the very first turn of the race and had to come pit and make repairs and stuff. What the fuck is NASCAR doing with this qualifying, where you do 2 groups and then you just set it based on time? Like, what if sprinkles happened in the second group, but not enough to throw a yellow, but enough to just make it so you can't quite put, and then it's literally would be just Group 1, all the top 18 or 19 cars would be Group 1, and then the next 18 or 19 cars would be Group 2 is the starting order. It is an absolute bullshit qualifying format. We know these track conditions change. That happens at most tracks, most weekends. The track conditions changed. And I cannot believe this qualifying format from NASCAR. It is absolute garbage. Don't fucking use this format, NASCAR. Please go back to the zipper format where you get your time within your group, because that works a lot better. Zilisch would have been starting around 7th or 8th, and that's where he deserved to start because he was 4th fastest in his group. So that's what it really should be, is set it that way. And I'm fine with the groups. I really am, because 38 cars on track to get a clean qualifying lap is hard. But if you split it up, it makes a lot of sense. And that way, by doing the zipper thing, you negate the track changes. And they try to balance the groups by using their metric, their formula, which tends to balance the groups pretty well. Obviously, certain times there can be stacked groups and not, but there's no perfect way to do it. IndyCar also has groups, and they split it out by the second practice times. So if you're the fastest, you go in Group A, second fastest, Group B, third fastest, fourth fastest, and so on, A and B, A and B. So I think that's totally fair. You just need to set the qualifying order that way, or the lineup that way as well. Do the zipper thing there. So that's my LuvaBella whine about it.
Yeah, my opinion on these groups and shit. Just get rid of the fucking groups. I'm so over them. I think the groups are good. I don't like them.
I don't want 38 cars on track at a road course during practice. Or on an oval. I don't.
And that's where we are different. But as always, Wine About It, presented by LuvaBella Winery. Check them out, luvabella.com. All right, let's look at these standings now. William Byron now the points leader over Ryan Blaney by 2 points. One of only 3 people with 2 top 5s to start out the year. Obviously, Christopher Bell is the other one, as he has 2 wins. Tyler Reddick also has 2 top 5s. Byron, your points leader. Blaney second. Reddick, Bell, Chase Elliott top 5. Bubba Wallace hanging on there in 6th. in the point standings. Michael McDowell up to 8th. Stenhouse moves down to 10th. Kyle Busch is up to 9th. Digging down a little bit further, Kyle Larson sitting 16th. And obviously, after 3 races, this doesn't mean a lot, but it's still something fun to kind of keep an eye on. Ty Gibbs is sitting 36th. Well, we'll be 35th once they update it for Cindric's penalty, as he will be at negative 20 points. But Ty Gibbs off to a very rough start this year after ending 2024. If you remember back to the championship at Phoenix last year, Ty Gibbs had an early day there, but he's back 35th in points. Let's see any other big surprises kind of further back. Kozlowski sitting 26th. SVG is 19th after 3 races. But yeah, Byron, your points leader, obviously has that Daytona 500 win, and then Christopher Bell up there as well. Nobody has more than 1 stage win yet this year through 3 races.
Nobody what?
Nobody has more than 1 stage win this year through the first 3 races.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace got the COTA stage 1 win, which one of the first stage wins of his career. I don't know if it was the first, but one of maybe he has another one sometime. But yeah, Bubba Wallace actually really good showing. Obviously he got that penalty and had to take they called it the Joker lane or whatever. I don't know if I like that term. And what that did is it put him back enough in the field where they audibled their strategy from going on the race winning strategy to stay out and just grab the stage win. So really cool there. But yeah, you mentioned the standings. Obviously, Chase Briscoe, we talked about him. He gets that big jump up from dead last to 14th. It's interesting. Christopher Bell has 2 wins and is only 4th in the point standings. The stage points, man, the stage points. We keep stressing that stage points. Now, obviously, it doesn't matter for Bell because he's locked in. He's got 10 playoff points. But if he finished second in both of those, right, then, 2 seconds and a DNF, normally you'd probably still be in the top 3 in points after 3 races. But because of stage points, he's not. If he had 24 stage points like Tyler Reddick does, that's an extra 15 points there. He'd be right there at a single point behind Reddick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you look at the guys right above him. Byron has 31 stage points this year. Blaney has 33, and then Reddick has 24. And then you look, Christopher Bell's the odd duck out here with 9. You have to go back to Michael McDowell at 8, in 8th with 8 to the next single-digit stage point person. So, yeah, definitely noteworthy there with his 2 wins. But like you said, he's locked into the playoffs. He'll be just fine, and I'm sure he'll grab some stage points probably this weekend with Phoenix coming up. But yeah, hot start for Christopher Bell and really all these guys. Byron, Blaney, Reddick, they're all off to a very hot start this season.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have too much more to add on the standings. I guess we could look at the guys that are way down there. Keselowski in 26th. Ty Gibbs in 36th. Ty Gibbs has not had a good season so far. Sitting 36th in points, and he was just meh at COTA.
He was not good at COTA.
He was just mid-pack, and a lot of people bet Ty Gibbs early week, and I even at 21-1, I kind of was like, I might lean Ty Gibbs 21-1, but I just don't feel comfortable betting a lot of stuff right now because it's the first race of the season. We don't know where things stand. So I didn't bet much this past week at all. And, it bit me in some spots and it didn't bite me in other spots. So it kind of washes out neutral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hit Ty Gibbs 21-1. And yeah, he was not good whatsoever. Not really even in the conversation.
Yeah.
But again, on the other side, I also bet Allmendinger early at 20-1, so I was happy with that. So yeah, like that, it kind of washes out. Obviously lost those 2 bets, but overall, good day. But yeah, Gibbs 29 points through 3 races is that's pretty bad.
0 stage points.
Cole Custer has more points than him. Jimmy Johnson still has more points than Josh Berry, Cole Custer. Obviously Austin Cindric and Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, and Cody Ware.
Yeah. Shout out Cody Ware for 10 points through the first 3 races of the year.
That's abysmal.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. On to from the standings, we're heading on to Phoenix.
Oh yeah.
Shriners Children's 500. This race last year was this was the race that before it you mentioned that Christopher Bell, after looking at the test session, you said Christopher Bell has an absolute rocket ship, and boy did he have a rocket ship. He won this race by, I want to make sure I get this correct, did not lead all of the laps because he started back in 13th, but he led 50 laps. Margin of victory 5.465 seconds. And the reason I bring that up is, one, that is fucking ridiculous at a short flat track. But two, you made a bet this week for this Phoenix race on margin of victory. You wanna talk about that?
Yeah. Well, look at the two spring Phoenix races before that. What were the margins of victory? 0.331 and 0.771. So the average of those is like 0.551. Well, the range from 0.5 to 0.7 was 30 to 1. I bet it at 30 to 1. I of course at Caesars I moved it with a tiny bet. I was trying not to even move the line. So then I gave it out at 20 to 1 because that's ridiculous. 20 to 1 when two of the last three races, at the spring races, I should say. I like the championship race I discount so much just because of the unique circumstance.
It is, yeah.
But two of the last three Phoenix races in the spring averaged in that range. And it was weird because the next that's a 0.2 range. The next 0.15 second range after that was 5 to 1. And the 0.15 range before that was 12 to 1 or something. So I'm like, we're getting a wider range here at a crazy long price at the average of two of the last three spring Phoenix finishes, right? Now, obviously last year was certainly a bit of an anomaly. And I think a lot of that had to do with Toyota and Ford bringing new bodies. And they had that offseason test and Bell just smashed it. But now all these teams have had the Toyotas and the Fords have had an extra year to work on their bodies and stuff. And Chevy's had an extra year to their third year on this body style. So the playing field should be a lot more level than it was spring Phoenix last year. So 30 to 1, 20 to 1, even 20 to 1. I mean, that's a bet that's probably 12 to 1. So I gave it out at 20 to 1. And 12 to 1 might even be conservative, right? This probably should be more 6 or 8 to 1. So yeah.
And that gives you such a random but fun thing to root for on race day. That's what I like about it is what let's say you don't have any outrights that are in contention at the end. You still have something to root for. I need him to win by half a second.
I need a yellow if Bell's ahead by 5 seconds. I need a yellow with 2 to go.
Yeah. Another I noticed that Caesars this week has fastest lap. Who's going to have the fastest lap? They have odds up on that.
Yeah.
I just wish that we could easily find that information because it's not published historically, on specifically on a race report.
Yeah.
It does not say who has the fastest lap or even what the fastest lap was.
Sure.
But it's cool that Caesars has it this week. Obviously,
it's going to go to somebody who, gets in an early incident or mid-race incident, and they're on their own lap. And the only thing they have to do is come pit, take option tires, and set a fast lap right at the end of the race. So it's total crapshoot.
So would you consider doing your strategy like you did at Daytona with most fastest laps, where you're betting an Austin Dillon at 55 to 1?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who's longer than 40 to 1 that isn't Catherine Legg or Cody Ware,
right.
Those types of drivers could be value. It just depends. We just don't know who's going to wreck, right? Zane Smith is 65 to 1, and he's been kind of wreck prone in the Cup Series so far. He almost might be a prime candidate to do that. Ty Dillon, somebody like that. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I don't know. Austin Dillon, maybe. Some of these guys that could be a little more wreck prone that are longer than 40 to 1, I think are potential options.
Mm-hmm. And we saw, so speaking of the option tire, that's obviously one big thing that we're going to have to tackle this weekend, because NASCAR is bringing an option tire to Phoenix. I think the plan is, if this goes well, that the option tire will be the full primary tire in the championship race. But we saw the option tire format come into play last fall at Richmond, and we saw a guy like Daniel Suarez go out there and have quote unquote the right strategy and kind of take control of the race. Now, with that being said, Richmond's a lot more abrasive of a track than Phoenix. Do we think that the option tire is going to make as big of a difference at Phoenix as it did at Richmond?
Sorry, I was distracted reading an email. What'd you say?
Or do we think that the option tire will make as big of a difference at Phoenix as it will at Richmond?
No,
as it did at Richmond.
Because Richmond's such a high tire wear track.
Or will the higher speeds stay longer? And it eventually all just even itself.
It'll be more like we saw with North Wilkesboro, where there was a repave and you had the option tire, and it made a difference, but it wasn't a crazy amazing difference, you know. So
yeah,
the difference is it should be a little bit easier to pass at Phoenix because it's just wider, more lanes.
Yeah, but we definitely saw like the race kind of get turned on its head a little bit there at Richmond last year, and I just don't see that happening this time. But looking at the favorites, Christopher Bell, obviously the favorite to go back to back, dominated this race last year, was great here in the fall as well. He opened, I think, at FanDuel at 6-1. Some people grabbed him there quick, but most places have him about 4.5, 5-1. Ryan Blaney's up there, and then it's pretty much the Hendrick boys of Larson, Elliott, Byron. Logano's obviously up there, Briscoe, Hamlin. Any surprises or any guys you feel are overvalued this week or undervalued? Because we have seen like a Chris Buescher, he is challenged for the win here in the past. Ross Chastain won the championship race here a couple years ago.
Yeah, but I feel like I feel like they're fairly pricing Ross at 14, right? You know,
I agree.
15. I think there's a 16 out there, maybe a bet 365, but I think that's pretty fair. Joey early week was like 14 at one book. I think his longest is now 12, maybe a little undervalued there. I know you took Briscoe at 14. I wasn't quite there. I was more like 18 on Briscoe. Ty Gibbs, this is a good track for him. 30-1 is kind of nice at BetMGM. I don't hate that at all. This mid-range, I took Josh Berry 50-1 at open. You know, that Penske affiliation, and Penske, this is a dominant track for them. I mean, remember Kyle Larson said, in regards to the championship race, like, you're just not going to beat the Penskes. And this is Kyle Larson saying that. Well, Josh Berry is now in Penske affiliated equipment, no longer that Stewart-Haas stuff that was pretty bad last year. Like, it took Briscoe winning Darlington to get one of those cars in the playoffs for Stewart-Haas Racing last year. That's how bad they were. But now you get Josh Berry in a Penske affiliate. We've seen Ryan Blaney win in that Penske affiliate car. So if you put a good driver in there, and Josh Berry is good at the short flats,
that's what I was just going to say.
50-1 was pretty long for me. I think this mid-range, like Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, is really undervalued. And I know Bowman's had his own weird history with Phoenix. You look at the very first race he drove at Phoenix. It was 2016. He was filling in for Dale Jr. in that sub roll. Dominated Phoenix, got wrecked on a late restart, and finished 6th. Well, he's never been good at Phoenix since. He's been like mediocre. I think his best finish is like 9th or something since then. But Alex Bowman has also been very good at high fall off tracks. And Phoenix has never been a high fall off track because it was repaved in like 2012 or something. Well, Phoenix is starting to age, and now, so it's going more closer to medium fall off. And now we're adding the option tire. I think this could really benefit a guy like Alex Bowman. So I'm looking in this mid-range. If you're talking about like, who do I think is undervalued? I think it's Alex Bowman. I think it's potentially Bubba Wallace. I think it's potentially Ty Gibbs, those kinds of drivers. Brad Keselowski, 37-1. You mentioned Buescher, right? Like this mid-range here to me is where the value lies this week.
I agree. And, you know, you brought up Buescher, and like I said, he finished 2nd here this race last year. He has 3 straight top 10s. I almost bet him top 10 today, plus 140, but he qualifies so poorly here, kind of like he does at road courses, that I am perfectly fine waiting and seeing if he continues to qualify and see if that drifts a little bit. But when we look at Phoenix, it's interesting because we have a guy like Ryan Blaney who over the last 6 races here has an average finish of 2.8, which is ridiculous. You know how many wins he has over that span?
No.
0.
Wow.
Ryan Blaney has never won at Phoenix, ever.
Wow.
And he has an average finish of 2.8 over the last 6 races. So when you say that these betting odds open up the door for some of this mid-range value, I 100% agree. And it's stuff like that. We don't necessarily get the best guys in victory lane here. Now, obviously, Christopher Bell had the best car here last spring. Logano won the championship last fall. But overall, we've seen Briscoe win in Stuart Haas car, the very first next-gen race here. We saw Ross Chastain not necessarily come out of nowhere, but kind of come out of nowhere and give a win. So
the non-championship driver to win in the championship race.
Yeah. Byron's won here before. He's always strong here. It's a good week, I think, in that mid range and in that I'm looking at Byron 10-1 as well.
Caesars, damn, that's okay. So here's the other thing. Analyzing Phoenix is so weird because of the dichotomy between the 2 races, right? You have Spring Phoenix and you have Championship Phoenix, and it's so hard to use Championship Phoenix, in my opinion, because 32 teams and drivers, chartered teams and drivers, are eliminated. Only 4 are not. That doesn't mean some of these teams aren't giving it their all, especially if you're a Ross Chastain, that kind, who knows they can go and win at Phoenix. But Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing is notorious for once they're eliminated, we go into testing mode. Well, look who was really fucking good at the first Phoenix race last year. Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. They finished 2nd and 4th with their 2 drivers. Keselowski's 40-1 and Chris Buescher is 22-1 as the longest odds out there. To me, that is pretty big value, especially on Keselowski. Especially if the option tire, we saw Kez win at Darlington last year, high tire wear, option tire, high tire wear. So, I think this is a spot where Ford looks really good, whether it's the Penske's, Josh Berry now instead of Harrison Burton in that Wood Brothers, your RFK cars. You have Ryan Preece as an RFK driver now who is good at short, flat tracks. Really like value on Ford this week.
Yeah. I agree. Plus, what manufacturer has been the best as far as tire wear goes? Ford. They just don't have the early speed, but over the course of a long run, Fords generally have the best long run speed when it comes to tire fall off. So, yeah, I agree. I'm not Keselowski 40-1 is very interesting. I'm curious to see what his longest top 10 odds are. I'm going to pull that up real quick.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Looks like it's plus 150 at Caesars.
Yeah, 150 at Caesars. Let me check a couple other books because our app with the API, it's plus 160 at Bet365. I don't know if Hard Rock has the same price or not, but very often Hard Rock will have similar prices to Bet365. MGM just posted, they have them at plus 110, DraftKings plus 140. FanDuel, I wish you'd get your top 10 odds up.
Yeah, Hard Rock doesn't have them up either.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't checked ESPN Bet. We also don't get an API for NASCAR for ESPN Bet. So we'll never have ESPN odds in our Action app until certain things change there. So let me look at top 10 for Keselowski. Plus 155, yes. Plus 160 at Bet365 is the longest on Kes top 10, which I do like.
I agree with you. I also Bubba Wallace sitting there plus 200. I don't mind that for a top 10. You mentioned him a little bit there. That was the name of the game last spring at Phoenix. It was play the Toyotas, and boy did they look good. You mentioned Ty Gibbs earlier. He led a good chunk of this race last year. Reddick led 68 laps last year. Hamlin led 68 laps. Gibbs led 57. Truex led 55. So yeah, we'll see if that comes by again and happens. But yeah, that is one of the main things to take away from Phoenix is the complete difference between spring and fall. Because teams might not be completely, checked out, but mentally, if one thing goes wrong and you're not in the championship four, like, what is your ambition to like really try to get? You know what I mean? Like, it's so I think a lot of teams are out to lunch, and it's very hard to discount the race when you're analyzing things as a whole, that way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. One other, kind of, I guess, mental note would be just the point situation. Ty Gibbs, Brad Keselowski. If they're in a position to get stage points, they probably need to take it. You know what I mean? Just because they're both kind of less so Keselowski, but definitely more so Ty Gibbs. He's just really far down in points this early in the season. I know it's only 3 races, but 3 races is more than 1/9 of the regular season.
You mentioned North Wilkesboro. Obviously only 20 cars in the actual all-star race last year at North Wilkesboro, but look who finished third, right behind Logano and Hamlin, Chris Buescher, RFK. Keselowski started second. I think something happened to him where he finished 16th. I don't think he
I don't remember.
Just had a bad car, but Buescher, yeah, RFK, definitely keep an eye on RFK this week, I think.
I agree.
Let's go. But yeah, as far as consistency, you can't go wrong with Penske at short flat track. So Blaney and Logano. I will note that like Logano last year looked garbage in the first race, and then obviously won the second race. He also did not look good the first race here in 2023. I always thought that in the spring he's more likely to test and figure out something for the fall, but that's just my own random opinion.
Okay, I gotta interrupt you. Hold on, I gotta interrupt you real quick. In the Action Network Discord, in our racing section, somebody said, "I like Nick's transition from no whine about it to a tirade." Like sometimes it just takes a little spark to light a fire.
It does. That's true. That is 100% true. You mentioned, yes, I did bet Chase Briscoe 14-1. I had a boost on it, so I got it to your number. I got it to plus 1750. Nice. So I'm fine with that. Like I said, he did win the first next gen race here, and then 4 top 10s and 6 next gen starts here with Stuart Haas. I really like like I said, I think the Toyotas are going to be really strong here. As good as he looked last week, that's why I pulled the trigger on Briscoe this week. I just feel like he could
was
be
one of the
those
first
guys
drivers I looked at. I couldn't get there at 14.
Yeah, I feel like the markets are pricing him correctly for the situation.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
One guy that was always so I'm curious to see how RCR looks this week, because Kyle Busch probably had the best car for most of the race last week at COTA. If they improved, Kyle Busch used to be really, really good here at Phoenix. Obviously, Austin Dillon won Richmond last year. I'm curious to see what RCR does, because if they improved, I have to have a feeling that Kyle Busch said something at some point, like, we got to get our shit together in the Cup Series, know. And if you remember, halfway point of the year onward last year, RCR was significantly better than they were first half of the year.
Yeah.
Not that that's saying much, but yeah. RCR has been junk here at Phoenix these last 3 races or so. Kyle Busch finishes at 21st, 22nd, 25th. But like I said, before that, he was like constant. He was a Ryan Blaney. He was finishing top 7 here every single race. Like, you could guarantee it. It was him and Kevin Harvick during that time span. Just automatic. So yeah, I'm keeping an eye on him as well. I don't even know what his odds are. I'm not betting him before practice and qualifying, but I want to see what he looks like.
Yeah, Kyle Busch is one of those guys who still has a ceiling close to championship level. It's just not consistently that way anymore. Right. But any given week, any given track, especially a track where he had such as good history at Phoenix as this one, that championship caliber form could come back much more easily than maybe some of his lesser tracks. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Kyle Busch is one that intrigues me in that mid-range, that 30-1 number. There are a lot of value in this mid-range. It's just so hard to pick and choose between them. And then these guys likely aren't going to win anyway, because it's still most likely to be Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney's types, Byron, Larson, Logano, those names are still the favored drivers. So it's hard to just be like, I have conviction on Kyle Busch this week. I have conviction on Brad Keselowski, conviction on Bubba, Bowman, Buescher. But all of them, you can find avenues or paths toward victory for them based off various factors and just their price, right? Like, I don't think Alex Bowman's going to win. I think he's been pretty bad at Phoenix relative to some other tracks of his, but 55-1, you're betting numbers. You're not betting drivers or cars. If the number is longer than it should be for the driver in the car, yeah, if Bowman was 35, I'm not betting it. But if he's 55, I'm definitely, lean Bowman territory. So maybe I got to parlay Bowman with something in the lean territory.
Where is Bowman still available at
Yep,
wherever?
He's 55 at looks like FanDuel. He's 55 at Caesars.
You know what I like doing in those situations with FanDuel?
What?
I will make, like, if I like someone like that, where I look at the odds and it's just what I think is astronomically long, I'll make 2 bets. And then after qualifying, if they adjust it down, I'll cash one of them out. So it's even less risk, but you have the longer ticket.
It's an interesting strategy. I've never really thought of that.
That's
not
just
my
how,
style,
that's just
but
something
I don't mind it.
Like
The problem is the cash out value is never any good.
But if they like shorten it from 55 to 20,
right? But then they're offering you cash out odds in the equivalent of like 38-1 still.
But in
Even
my
though they list them at 20-1.
In my dumb math brain, I'm
Or
then
the
getting
other way.
my other bet for free, with no risk, basically.
Yeah, but it's less positive EV to cash out than to just let it ride.
Oh yeah,
is what I'm saying.
That's why I don't recommend anybody else do this. Like, do not like. I'm not sitting here saying I'm recommending this whatsoever. It's just something I do.
yeah, that's fair.
All right. Who else you want to talk about?
I'll bring up a couple guys. So the Action Network Discord has had some good discussion on some top 10 bets. I have seen in the Action Network Discord Michael McDowell 7-1, Noah Gragson 4-1, Riley Herbst 10-1, I believe. Those are I haven't checked the prices on all those because I haven't bet any top 10 bets yet. But those are some names that various people in the Action Network Discord, not me, have thrown about.
Sorry.
Doggo time.
All right. So like guys like Noah Gragson, they opened ridiculously long. I wasn't around when top 10 odds came out, so I didn't see the opening top 10 odds. I just saw people betting them. But like, I think 365 opened up Gragson at 350-1 to win. Like, which is just, I didn't get that at all. It's one of those where you're like, that just makes no sense. And they had a lot of people down in that 200 plus range.
Yep.
A lot of those guys you mentioned. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously Herbst is in Toyota. I can definitely get behind betting someone like him at 10-1.
Yep. Yeah, I'm fine with all those. It's just we like so many drivers and teams here that it at some point it gets crowded out. Where is that point? You can't bet Herbst and McDowell and Gragson and Priest and Bowman and Keselowski and Bubba and Josh Berry and Kyle Busch and Ty Gibbs and Chris Buescher, for top 10s or anything. They can't all be value, right? So you have to be really selective on who is your value and in what market. And so I like all these names that have been thrown out. I agree with all the reasons why we can get there on some of these drivers. I just haven't bet any myself because I'm still sorting through, like, to me, what is the best value of this? Because among these 10 or 12 or 14 different names and drivers and markets, I can't pick them all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, especially this early in the season, just kind of holding off a little bit. I'm just holding off still. We got some unknowns. We've got this option tire. It's just a new season, new drivers in new places. Maybe Michael McDowell's setup worked really well at Front Row Motorsports, and now that he goes to Spire, maybe the setup won't quite work for him as well because it's a different manufacturer, or maybe they prefer a different setup over at Spire and steer him the wrong way. Even though Carson Hosfar has been good here, maybe it just that style setup doesn't work for McDowell. So there's a lot of like unknown things where I both agree with all the points that people in my Action Network Discord have made, but also I could kind of rebut with counterpoints. It's the same with Bowman, right? Like, I like Bowman, but I definitely understand all the counterpoints to not liking Bowman. So I haven't bet anything Bowman related yet, other than the parlay that I gave out, which was Bowman top Chevy and Keselowski top Ford at DraftKings. That's the only thing I've done. And it's because I took two small plus EV edges and parlayed them according to my numbers.
Yeah, there's just so much out there that potentially could be value that, by the way, Bowman just moved down to 45 at Caesars. Literally,
probably because we're mentioning his name. Like, we're the ones moving the market here. I haven't bet Bowman to win, but yeah.
You know who I might bet right now?
Who might you bet?
And this falls into that range of what you were talking about. Like, there could be value, and you could make the argument for a lot of people. Austin Dillon 9-1. Just kind of, I'm kind of on the RCR train right now. With that being said, Austin Dillon hasn't had a top 10 here since 2018, but he does have a bunch of top 15 finishes here.
Yep.
So it is. It's fun to find these, but at the same time, I have no interest in just spraying and praying this early in the season. I think
yeah, exactly.
The number of bets I've actually made this year, I want to say it's like all of Speed Weeks, I made 8 bets.
In the Action app, you have made 18 so far.
Yeah. So it's closer to 26.
Sure.
But it's all like a lot of those, like Atlanta, Daytona, were super long shots that, I'm throwing $5 or $10 on.
Exactly.
So
I took it easy this past week, and I've still made 74 bets this season. But to be fair, some of that was like in 2 straight races, I sprayed the board on the fastest lap of the race, or most fastest laps,
Right.
That's like 16 bets right there in 2 races just on those.
Cody Ware sitting at 55-1 for a top 10 finish. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but that's just funny to me. Same odds as Catherine
Legg. It's just leg. Yeah, like your
leg?
body part. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, she's in that 78 for Live Fast Motorsports this weekend.
I'm curious. I'm looking up some stats here. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of these look juicy, but maybe aren't actually value. Certain ones that we just might feel like are good. Like, to me, it's hard to pass up just mentally somebody like a Stenhouse at 20-1 for a top 10, because he has been good at Richmond, for example. I know Richmond and Phoenix very different on the tire wear. And he's come close at Phoenix in the past, more like 3-4 years ago. Still with JTG though. Like you said, Austin Dillon at 9, Todd Gilliland at 9 or so to 1 for top 10. A lot of these look juicy, and I think with the option tire, you kind of want to take some shots here, but I don't think all of a sudden we're going to see like a long shot winner just because we have an option tire, because these top teams also will have drivers that'll be using option tires, right? So it doesn't suddenly change, and you still need to be on the lead lap, right? Like you can't just save your option tire for the end and then hope you're still on the lead lap, because you may be lapped by that point.
Got a comment here. I'm assuming he means Hard Rock, but Rock opened McDowell 10-1 top 10. I don't even have top 10s on my Hard Rock, so
They probably shut him down after some people bet him or something.
yeah. I've been waiting for them to drop. I always like looking at Hard Rock's odds, but all right. Anybody else you want to talk about?
I mean, we pretty much just mentioned, I would say, most of the field. But yeah, just again, another race where I don't want to make too many bets. I just kind of want to let things play out. My only official bets so far in the action app are Josh Berry, that 1/10 of a unit, and then my parlay at 1/2 of a unit or something. I think those are my only official bets for this race. And then the miles per, or not the miles, but the margin of victory one, right? Like those are my only bets on this race so far. And I'm not planning on going too crazy. I have a couple bets in mind. I'm recording Running Hot later tonight. It'll be released tomorrow. So I have a couple bets in mind for that. But yeah, just kind of conservative, some unknowns here. With a lot of things, not just the tire. Again, I talked about new drivers and new places. Like, are we sure the Spire setup's going to work for McDowell here? I don't know. Are we sure, Ty Gibbs just isn't in a funk right now? I don't know. That kind of stuff. So I think the biggest conviction I have is I do think RFK is going to be good here this weekend. I think that's probably my biggest conviction.
So they are on Hard Rock. It's on the futures tab, and I was just looking through it. McDowell moved to 7-1, but they do have Bubba at plus 225, and they have Bowman at plus 240 for a top 10.
Nice.
Yeah, I might have to hit that Bubba Wallace. But yeah. All right, you ready to get to our picks?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to actually enter our DraftKings picks this week because I forgot last week. Like we did them, and I get so busy on Sundays that I just completely forgot.
Yeah, I hear you.
But we're running one on that. But first, we got our picks to win. We both went with SVG last week. He finished 6th, so I finally have a decent finish on the books. That is your third.
Tanked my average finish to 3.
Yeah. Oh man. I get to go first this week, and let's see, who am I gonna jinx? Because obviously I ain't picking a damn winner. I could go the obvious. I could go Christopher Bell. I could go Ryan Blaney. But I'm gonna go with a guy that I just have a feeling about. I'm going Tyler Reddick as my pick to win this week at Phoenix.
I like that. We actually haven't even mentioned him, but he's another one that pops here at Phoenix from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Blaney.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with Blaney at Phoenix right now. He is too good.
Yeah. I hate being chalky, but I'm going Blaney.
I feel like chalky's the place to be this early in the season.
Yep.
This is our first non-super speedway and road course. So this is our first quote unquote normal track. Got to go with what's good here. Brings us to 36 for 36. So I have Reddick, you have Blaney for the
Big win.
pick to win. 36 after 3 races. So I got everything updated on that. I got the standings up, everything. I'm sitting at 52 points after 3 races. You have 33. You have used the 51, the 7, and last week the 38. And I have used the 10, the 41, and then last week the 48, which was a dumb pick. It ended up being a dumb pick. I'm not going to lie. So I need a good pick this week just to get like headed in the right direction here. I'm going exactly what I did last year. I'm going Ryan Blaney. I'm going with 12.
I am going to go. I might go with the same pick I did last year in this race. Give me Chase Briscoe.
Ooh, that's interesting. I like it. I really like it because, like I said, I bet him. And if you like it, the way that your picks are going this year, I like it.
My 36
Just overall
standings aren't good, but remember, I haven't picked anybody good either.
Exactly.
I've picked the 51, the 7, and the 38. So, tough sledding there between Cody Ware, Justin Haley, and Zane Smith.
Mm-hmm.
This is my first chance to shine.
Yep. All right, you're going with the 19. I'm going with the 12 for Phoenix. And now we get to make some way too early DraftKings lineups. Just like the betting board, I'm seeing a ton of value already in that mid-range spot. All right. I get to go first. So they got Christopher Bell priced way up at 11,000, Blaney at 10.8, which I think makes sense. But it's also going to require, looking at just from a cap standpoint, they're going to need to lead a good chunk of laps and get fastest laps for it to pay off, just as far as like the build of a lineup goes, because there's so much value in this range right here.
Yeah.
Keselowski, Bowman, Josh Berry, Bubba Wallace, Busher, potentially Kyle Busch, Chastain, Briscoe, right? Like there's tons there.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did today was look at the lower dollar guys. And like I said, I think Austin Dillon, I think RCR is going to be good. I also like Cole Custer down here at 6,300. He has a good track record here. Fords are not bad. And then obviously we have Herbst. I'm going to start off with Austin Dillon though. And then I'm going to grab Bubba Wallace. I feel like he's underpriced at 7,300. 3 top 5s, I think, in the last 4 Phoenix races. Or not top 5s, top 10s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to roll with Busher. Like I said, he usually qualifies mid-pack. Has been a top 10 contender here quite frequently. I'm sticking with my early guns of Chase Briscoe. I'm gonna go. Give me Reddick, and then I'm going Byron.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm rolling with. I'm rolling Byron, Reddick, Briscoe, Busher, Bubba Wallace, and Austin Dillon.
I like it. This week's tough, man.
Let me get in here quick.
By the way, I just got my DraftKings verification code.
Yeah.
It's 96, which is 69 backwards. Nice. And then it's 34-34, Gilly Gang.
Oh, yeah.
So Elliott, Keselowski, Gilly.
I need to get some Gilly merch, just because he's still my hero, and the 11-1 top 10.
Have his number 38 hoodie, so now I got to get number 34 merch.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going Bell. Blaney.
Can't go wrong there. Oh, you're going heavy hitters.
Scroll all the way down. Give me Riley Herbst.
Okay.
Give me a little bit higher in the mid 6K range. Michael McDowell. I'm gonna take my Action Network Discord picks here, and give me Ryan Preece. 6,700. And give me Chase Briscoe.
That's solid. 2 major heavy hitters. Briscoe, who could win this race. And then Priest, McDowell, and Herbst.
Priest, I should say McDowell and Herbst, my Discord. Like I said, they were talking about their top 10s. And I'm high on RFK and Priest. So there we go.
There we go. Those lineups are set. And they are in. And I'm not going to change them.
It's a fun little thing to do.
Right. Yeah. So far we are 1-1. You won Atlanta. I won COTA. We'll keep track of this. Not that it means anything with these,
Do you have the sum of each of our points from the 2 races?
I forgot to grab. Let me check. Yes, but it might take me a little bit.
It's all good. There's no rush. You beat me by like 97 or so in the first race, but I think I beat you by about that much in the.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close.
Yeah. Let me see. I probably can find it pretty quickly. Yeah, I think this is it. Oh, no, that's not it.
I found the tweet of what it was or what the lineups were. I know I tweeted out the results.
Yeah, I know you did too. I went through your media and I didn't see it. So
it was a text tweet. That's the problem.
Gotcha.
I'll get to it quick.
Let's see.
All right, okay, got it. First race you were at 314.8 and I was at 200.65.
Yeah. I just found it too.
Yep. Yeah, so you are leading 496.8 to my 480. So pretty close after 2 races.
Sure is. This is going to be a fun one to do all year.
It is. Yeah. Especially if it gets down close to the end of the year and we're still this close. But, all right. You got anything else for Phoenix?
No, I don't think so.
Me neither. All right. Hopefully we get a good race here with this option tire and Phoenix. Hopefully it's a little bit better than what we've seen in the past. But
yeah,
next week we'll be at Vegas, then Homestead, and then Martinsville. So, like I said, after Circuit of the Americas, actually, just to cap this episode off, one final line about it. What I am 100% convinced that Fox will not, or that Fox is stuck on calling COTA Austin because they don't want to say COTA. I have never heard anyone on the broadcast say COTA. They say Circuit of the Americas or they say Austin for the shorter version. I'm so convinced. This is my conspiracy theory of the day, that it is written in Fox's pre-broadcast notes to not say COTA. And that's why they keep pushing Austin. Nobody calls this Austin. I I don't understand it.
My database with the track names,
Oh my God.
it's called Austin.
God damn it, Nick.
So when I
Racing
build my
Reference calls it
models,
Austin.
when I build my models, I'm pulling Austin, even though I call it COTA. That's just the way it's pulled from source sites and stuff. So my database defaults it to Austin.
I'm still gonna bitch about it though.
I agree with you. I call it COTA, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I never call it Austin. I'm just saying I understand simply because that's what my database has.
Yeah. All right. Little extra whine about it there, but I'm done. We'll see
Me
you guys
too.
next week. See you guys.
Ooh.